So, hello, Sean, Trish, and Brian. So today we're talking about video sites, I suppose internet-based theological sites that we've kind of come across that might be helpful. I think today's going to be a relatively shortish video because I'm not going to go into too much detail around the particular sites, but I'd have to say that I've found that these actually have been really influential for me, probably for a variety of reasons. I think it probably all started a little bit when I kind of returned to Ireland, and I found that actually some of the homilies, I guess, weren't feeding me in a particular kind of way. And I know that's kind of maybe a sad thing to say, or maybe I shouldn't say it, but certainly there's a part of me that didn't feel particularly spiritually nourished. And I suppose that I had a kind of a track record already sourcing a lot of different information from a variety of different fields via YouTube anyway. So I think for me it was a logical extension that I would look to some sources on the web that might be able to help me. And I've been really sort of impressed and pleased by, I suppose, the number of sites that actually have emerged that are actually really, really good and very, very informative. And recently, I suppose, one of the sites that have come to mind is Ascension Presents. And that has got about 469,000 subscribers. It's got a playlist of about 21 different categories of interest within the one site, ranging from things like prayer to liturgical seasons to all things kind of theological. And one of my favourite people on it is Father Mike Schmitz. And Father Mike Schmitz has his own sort of podcast in which he kind of talks about all kinds of things, really from sin and prayer and obstacles to kind of prayer, and really anything to really to do with it's not strict kind of theological topics, but it's more to do with spirituality and developing one's own spirituality, which I think is really, really lovely. And he's just he just comes like a really decent guy, which kind of brings a smile to my face, and he's just kind of sound, I think. And recently, because of the lockdown, I think I've been looking at they've had what they call the virtual pew, which is they broadcast mass on YouTube at 3:00 our time every Sunday. And I have to say that I really think that his homilies are great. He's just so insightful, and his homily on Sunday was just really, really, really sort of edifying, and looked at the whole context of the baptism of Jesus in a particular kind of light, really. Funny enough, it was echoed by Bishop Robert Barron in his Sunday sermons. There was elements of the same theme, and I thought it was just such a lovely way of really elucidating something which is very familiar and very well, I suppose, very familiar in the kind of Catholic psyche, but it was so lovely to kind of hear a new angle on it, and really the sense of alignment with Jesus, that he stood amongst the sinners, really in preparation for baptism, and at the same time, this was the particular point where God the Father said, "You are my beloved, and my favour rests on you." So at a time when he is most aligned with people around him, that's when God says that he has found favour with him. So it's just a really really good site for all kinds of different things. They've got a couple of couples on there who speak about married life, which I think is really, really helpful. to people, I think, and so it's well worth a visit. So that's Ascension Presents. So all you got to do is on YouTube, just Google in Ascension Presents, and you get your way to that. The second one is Pints Withquinas. Now I know that maybe some of you maybe know of this one, but this is manned by an Aussie, a man by the name of Matt Fradd, and that's got 100,000 subscribers, and it's got 4 independent playlists. And it's there's he has lots of conversations with a young Dominican priest called Christopher Prime, and it gets pretty heavy. The one that was on the most recent one that I know of, that he actually has introduced debates, and there was a really fascinating conversation / debate between Trent Horn and a young man by the name of Alex O'Connor, who we'll speak about later on in this video. And Trent Horn, as you'll know, is one of the I came across Trent years ago in the pro-life movement, and he's on in video, and again there's a video of him actually just holding his ground with a number of different pro-choice people literally screaming at him, but he doesn't get flapped. He just holds his ground, and he's able to answer coolly and calmly. And one of the things I really like about Matt Fradd is that, again, he's quite down to earth. He's earthy in his way, kind of cool. He's and sort of attractive in that kind of way as well. And I think he's definitely heart is in the right place. I think he gets into. I don't know if he gets into. I think he has lots of problems with the current magisterium, in the sense of feeling that some of the things that the Holy Father is saying is leading people astray and leading people into error, and we can have a conversation about that at some point. But I think for the most part, he's definitely got a love of Jesus and a love of the Lord and a love of the Church, and I really like that about him. It really kind of comes out, and he goes into territory. He's a heart for seeking information. Quid est ferens intellectum, faith seeks understanding. And that really sort of, the Pints Withquinas idea is such a cool thing, because he has that inquiry. But I'm going back to that debate with Alex O'Connor and Trent Horn. He moderated that, and it's a really interesting debate against somebody who's got an inquiring mind, but a lovely, thoughtful inquiring mind, and not harsh. Alex O'Connor. And Trent. So yeah, that's another one. Pints Withquinas, definitely worth a visit in my view. So check that out. So number 3 on the list is it's the old favourite. It's Bishop Robert Barron, and I'm sure he's probably on other people's lists as well. And that's that's a whole panoply of I suppose online internet-based material, not least of which is the Word on Fire Institute, which is just an extraordinary. It's a really extraordinary setup, and for all kinds of ways of looking at kind of theology and the Church, really. And there's a range of insightful commentaries on faith and culture by both Bishop Barron and a range of other kind of Catholic theologians. And there's in the Bishop Barron's site has 381,000 subs. Actually, someone's just come to the door, so I've got to pause this for a second. Yeah, sorry about that. Someone actually just came to the door. Bishop Barron's got how many is it? 381,000 subscribers, And it's a massive range of playlists. There's a massive playlist within his site, and it's about 20 different playlists with lots and lots of individual videos within each of those playlists. Anything on these kind of personal homilies and his commentaries and theology, and of course the Catholicism series. And funny enough, interestingly, where I came across Bishop Barron was his commentaries on movies, funny enough, because I think they were very, very interesting. And he was able to extrapolate and not only extrapolate, but pull very strong theological themes from a wide variety of movies. One of which was The Dark Knight, and things like Gran Torino, and he's just very, very, very good website. And I think he's all about speaking to the culture. He's all about evangelizing the culture. And those are contemporary ways through which he tries to really reach out and really, in my view, just in a lovely, inviting, warm way, speak to people. And he is so articulate. I mean, that's one of the things about the man. He's extraordinarily articulate. He pulls strands from from church history, from Greek, Latin, and Jewish history. He's just able to really amalgamate a whole range of different ideas and threads, and just weave an understanding. And it's just extraordinary mind, He's one of the few people, to my mind, who've actually had. It was a conversation he actually had with Jordan Peterson, and I think I think it's not but the sort of the way they both could kind of complement each other in terms of the angles on biblical text and what the stories of the Bible actually some select stories of the Bible actually meant. So really, I think he's a fantastic resource, and just a whole fantastic website. So again, that's something really worth looking into. Another one, I'm not going to spend too much time on this one, is called the Veritas Forum, and this is direct from their site. They say the Veritas Forum hosts university events on life's hardest questions, and the relevance of Jesus Christ to all of life. And they often host discussions between Christian and non-Christian thinkers. And the very first time I came across that was Professor John Haldane's philosophy. He's a philosophy professor from St Andrews in Scotland, and he actually took on the mighty kind of Christopher Hitchens, the archetypal kind of atheist, and that's a clash. But John Haldane is just very, very strong in terms of Christopher, to kind of contend with Christopher Hitchens' arguments. One of the things that Christopher Hitchens said towards the end of his life, in reflection on his own learning, was that he was somebody who said that it was said to him, you must have read so much books and long and deep, but he said to himself that actually not so much depth, but a lot of breadth. So what he was a person who was actually able to speak widely from a great breadth of topics. But that's what actually seems to happen when you take on a particular area and you go into depth, as was the conversation between Professor Haldane and Christopher Hitchens. John was able to really take him into a kind of a depth of philosophical thought, and literally I think he got out of his depth. So yeah, it's one of my not top ones, but it is certainly a pretty good source for thinking laterally and thinking about what non-Christians say to Christianity and Christian thinkers, particularly at an academic level. So that's something, and that's got 114,000 subscribers. There's another one that I have to say as well. There's a lovely website called How to Be a Christian. And How to Be a Christian teaches you the topic of Christianity. That's what it says. Not a huge subspace, only 7,000, but there's 11 playlists within that particular website. And one of my favorite is what's called Christian versus Protestant. Now, the reason why I kind of like this particular site is that I can't recall the name of the presenter, but he's very buoyant. He's slightly edgy and very funny. He's very funny, and the way that he edits some of his videos is really kind of cool as well. And I like it. I like it a lot. I think he's a pretty cool kind of guy, and he breaks arguments down so into quite succinct pieces, and that's something I really kind of like about him. And one of the things he does in Christian versus Protestant videos is there's a particular Protestant antagonist out there by the name of James White. He's one of the main people involved in Alpha and Omega Ministries. Funnily enough, James White's sister is Catholic. She converted to Roman Catholicism quite a number of years ago, and he hasn't spoken to her since, I think. So it's kind of broken down between them, and he's really hostile to Roman Catholicism. He has a bee in his bonnet about it. He really doesn't like us for a variety of reasons. But one of the interesting things that How to Be a Christian does is that this young man, he just kind of captures pieces of what James White is saying and literally kind of analyzes it, and from every kind of from a very sound philosophical kind of position. So yeah, I think he's really sort of very good. And they're relatively short, they're about maybe 30 minutes or so. But yeah, I think a very good site. A non-Catholic site is a site called Reasonable Faith, and that's got 70,000 subscribers. And reasonablefaith.org is the and it's manned by Dr. William Lane Craig, and it features the work of philosophy and theology. And this is from the website to provide to carry out a threefold mission. That's what its aim is to do: is to provide and articulate intelligent voice for biblical Christianity in the public arena, and to challenge unbelievers with the truth of biblical Christianity, and to train Christians to state and defend Christian truth claims with greater effectiveness. So in effect, it's an apologetic based website, and I have a lot of time for Dr. William Lane Craig. I think he's so good. I think he's made a tour de force in terms of Catholic apologetics. I think when the four horsemen of the atheist movement kind of really took traction back in sort of 2012, 2013, sort of about there. There were some really extraordinary non-Catholic, unfortunately, but non-Catholic speakers and apologists who came to the fore, amongst which was William Lane Craig. He and John Lennox, the Northern Irish mathematician now working in Oxford. Those people have done really a lot to hold back the kind of the wave of atheism that could have really taken over and swept through unchallenged, and those were really heavyweight speakers, well able to take on the likes of Dawkins and company. So yeah, I've got a real lot of time for that. It's something I dip into every now and then. It's not a website I really sort of kind of get into. What else? Okay, so I've done that. Yeah, and the last one I think is my reference to Alex O'Connor. and he runs a site called Cosmic Skeptic, and he's a theology and philosophy student at Oxford, and he runs this site. But interestingly, he's got a massive following. He's got 400,000, which is more than anybody else that I've just mentioned. The only one that actually is higher is Ascension Presents, and I think that's for obvious reasons because of its breadth and depth. And just from his side is that Alex is an international public speaker and debater, having delivered addresses in multiple continents at conferences, universities, drinking pubs, as well as debating ethics, religion, and politics. He's an impassioned animal rights advocate and religious critic, and Alex's online videos have been viewed 30 million times, which is quite a bit, attracting over 350,000 people to subscribe to his regular content. And he's produced videos with notable experts in respected fields such as Peter Singer, Richard Dawkins, and William Lane Craig. I suppose if you had these imaginary kind of round table dinner parties, who would you want? Alex would be there, I think, funny enough. There'd be some other people there who are on this list, obviously. But I think the real thing I like about Alex is that he holds such gentle inquiry and such respectful inquiry into all things. Like when you see people like Dawkins would speak to Christians, it always comes across with snide, sneering derision. There's always contempt somewhere along the way. Because, that's how he's wired up. It just seems that it's just never far from him. But with Alex, you never get that. You just get this somebody who's actively, inquiring, and is quite kind, I think. And it's an attractive. It restores hope that the art of debate and conversation isn't lost, and you doesn't fall foul of that. And he's got interesting ideas, I think. Not that I agree with his ideas, but I think he makes me think, and I like that a little bit. I like that somebody makes me think on something and makes me think on an angle that I haven't sort of thought on before. Interestingly, in the debate that he held with Trent Horn on Pints Withquinas, it came to a point where he actually said he would believe in God only for the animal rights things. He has a real kind of sense that animal justice is really critical, and he is an animal rights advocate. And if there's something about that whole machinery that he really dislikes, and that's the biggest impediment, funny enough, of all of the kind of critiques that can be laid at Christianity's feet. It's he seems to have gotten past most of them, or made it possible in his mind to think about God. But really, it's the animal rights thing. So maybe, God willing, if he comes on board and speaks of a conversion, imagine the effect of someone's conversion. Someone like him, speaking and saying yes. Interestingly, his heritage is Roman Catholic. He was brought up in a Catholic household, but decided to leave it. So I suppose keep him in your prayers and pray for the conviction and conversion of people like Alex, and that actually they would sort of come to Christ, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I think that's probably it for me. I hope that I can merge these two videos together, and I'll try to do that now and get them up in a few minutes' time. Okay, so looking forward to seeing you tomorrow evening. Bye for now.